プリンセスってことにして。プリン
セスいいわね、私にぴったり。
Okay, kind of legit cut there. This week we open with sorry, I think we accidentally skipped the cold opener. Here, let me fix that. There's no cold opener this week? That's a little unusual, but okay. Well, okay, maybe this is a good sign, like they're gonna dedicate more time to the episode and develop some of the show's main plot. Yeah, I'm sure that's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, kind of continuing where we left off from last week, our heroines were discussing what kind of story they could do for their Tropical Festival's play. Ooh, sorry Manatsu, but it looks like that's already become the title of the latest hit light novel. But okay, I'm sure this little plot point isn't going to take up that much more time in this episode, as they even ironically said that they were going to delay talking about the title, so I'm sure we're going to get back to the real meat soon enough. Alright, so we're down to the nitty-gritty. This show is maybe like 5 or 6 episodes left, so what do they have for us?
真夏とローラが出会った時はどんな感じだった？
私たちの出会いはね。
Oh, it's a clip show, huh? Yes, unfortunately, as a bit of a follow-up to last week's great episode, when Minori realized basing her writing on real-life experiences weren't usually optimal engines for storytelling, she decided to ask everyone about their introductions into the series. I mean, I will give it to them, that's kind of a clever setup using some recently established character development, but still, it's a clip show. I mean, come on. They don't even have excuse like they did last year with Healing Good and then producing a clip show ahead of time due to the Olympics. Obviously, the games didn't happen in 2020, and in fact happened this year, and yet we didn't get a clip show back in August, so why now? Well, and this is only a theory based on what one of my commenters said last week, though I do have to kind of agree with them, that maybe Toei is kind of in a panic after Tropical-Rouge's really poor sales. Right now, this season is projecting to have numbers not just lower than Healing Good, the season that came out in the middle of a pandemic, but also Gold Princess, which honestly I didn't think was possible. As a result, much like how they changed things up after that series, they might be planning to change directions with Delicious Party, and might be using this episode as a means of buying time to plan things out. It would certainly explain why their teaser site for the show still remains bare bones without even the next lead's catchphrase or something. I might bring up some more theories about what might happen to this franchise in a future video, but for now, if it's all the same to you, I think I'll just be on cruise control for this one. Now, I will give this first recap a little credit for being pretty hilarious. Knowing that friends weren't with her during the first episode, Laura managed to embellish what the queen had told her, and even make herself sound a lot more heroic in spite of the visuals on the screen. It was kind of clever, giving the scene a bit of an abridged feel to it, along with her second meeting with Manatsu. Yeah, for whatever reason, they didn't bring up that little crucial plot point and the memory machine in this clip show episode, but still pretty funny stuff, I guess. Too bad that was pretty much the only bit of fairly clever recap. Lord knows I appreciate some good satirics. At the same time, the villains at the Lair of the Witch were holding their own meeting, discussing ways they could collect some more motivation energy and deal with the Precure. Yep, that's pretty much its franchise in a nutshell. And unfortunately, even though we could get some interesting commentary from these antagonists to give this cookie-cutter episode concept something unique, they were barely featured at all.
You guys ain't cool! You're lame!
Anyway, we got a recap of Songo's introduction that didn't bring up the Tulip story because, let's face it, that interesting little bit of setup pretty much went nowhere. And from there, they recollected Asuka's Revenge of Kronos-inspired intro. We get Manatsu, you really want to show off your new Netflix show and everything. And lastly, for the original 4, we got Minori's intro recap as they made their way to the museum that used to have a mermaid exhibit, but I guess that was just a seasonal thing. Ain't interested in dragons unless we can get some maids involved. To be fair, it was nice remembering how good Minori's intro was, probably because the conclusion to her arc is still fairly fresh in our minds, and again, this episode is kind of a follow-up to that. But hell, none of that mattered, as of course we had to go over Kurun's introduction, which was absolutely one of the most vital events to this show.
打ち上げられてたわね。打ち上げられてた。
They also recollected the events that led to Laura becoming a Precure, which could have been interesting, especially if they had connected it to the aforementioned memory machine, and how in hindsight, the Queen had been keeping a lot of secrets from Laura, to the point lines like this shouldn't be delivered so nonchalantly.
私はプリキュアになれた。つまり人魚の常識を打ち破ったってわけよ。
Like, shouldn't Laura be warier about her mermaid heritage, knowing that not only do they partake in some very unethical practices like memory manipulation, but we're also planning on wiping her memories? Oh god, please don't tell me they're gonna drop that amazing plot point. Well, back with the antagonist.
それにしても私たちほんとよくやられたわよね。
Oh sure, now y'all wanna contribute. And it didn't even amount to much, as they just recollected an already irrelevant finisher to the show. It could have led to an interesting development where they chose to start researching their enemies' finishers, but...
ったりまた今度でいいか。
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, yeah, okay!
And in the final few minutes of the episode, they did kind of do something a little different, as Minori started to brainstorm story ideas based off of all the stuff she had noted throughout the episode, so at least that was a fairly consistent plot thread. And they started to assign roles in the play for everyone.
アスカは？番
中世ヨーロッパにいるのか番長。
Well, it depends. Is Shotaro traveling right now? I will say, at the very least, Minori got one of her best lines here, even after the technical conclusion to her arc, as apparently the concept of pandering self-inserts still eluded her.
港の倉庫に事務所を構える名探実は封印されたパパイヤの秘宝の
Why couldn't this whole episode just be about Minori slowly turning into Reki Kawahara? And the resulting little presentation of our heroine's concepts for the play was very cute, so at least they managed to end this drag of an episode on a decent note. This was a clip show episode. I don't know what else you want me to say. Maybe if they threw in a little more clever and satirical commentary, I might appreciate this more, but I still wouldn't say it's all that good. Because the fact remains, we're at the tail end of one of the shorter series in the franchise, so I think the last thing anyone really needed was a recap. Now again, I do think there might have been some behind-the-scene reasoning for why they decided to do a clip show now of all times. Even though this has been a year where things have kind of gotten back on track after the pandemic, this franchise might need a little more track fixing to accommodate whatever they have planned for the next season. I don't envy any of the toy animation staff right now, and I'm sure they're doing the best they can. All of that said, this was still one of the most minimal effort clip shows I've ever seen. While there was some clever writing, like the very fact that this came as a result of Minori's character development from the last episode, as well as some pretty funny bits from Laura and the antagonist, recollecting character introductions is just not that interesting. Even though it has been a while, a lot of viewers should be able to recollect the gist of those events, so it's kind of pointless. It certainly doesn't help that we've gotten some much more interesting developments since then, like the legendary Cure and her connections with both the Grand Ocean and the Witch. And again, the memory machine, which, okay, maybe I am being just a little paranoid, but I really hope they don't drop that plot line, especially considering how little that massive bombshell has affected Laura's view on the kingdom that she says she wants to rule. So, overall, this was just kind of a pointless episode with no real plot development when we should be entering into the show's final arc. As the new year and season quickly approach, we can only hope that this was only a minor bump in the road to the grand finale. Next Saturday will be Christmas, and since I usually put these videos up on a Sunday, I'll wish you all happy holidays, just in case you don't watch the Wednesday video. For me, I'm gonna spend the eve with my family, and then, I don't know, maybe I'll watch Tokyo Godfathers while I edit next week's review. Still look forward to it. Until then though, farewell for now my friends, and you know, if this episode did one thing, it made me realize I got a lot of reading to catch up on.